Hi guys, I'm Justin Scott and I am going to be tuning this snare drum that I have borrowed from Andy Edwards, and you can Google him. He used to play drums for Robert Plant. He used to play drums for IQ, and then he went on to a band called Frost, and he now I think I've showed you before, Rain. It's a different t-shirt this time. Yeah, he's lent me this snare drum. Now this snare drum is rather nice. I do like it. It is a 13-inch Tama snare drum. If I find the logo branding, there you go. There it is. It's been well worn. It's beaten and abused. So I'm going to give this a snare drum, and I'm going to rehead it with brand new heads. It's going to have just a general tidy up, and it sounds pretty killer actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a whack, and you are going to have a listen to see what it sounds like as it is before I've done anything. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get some actual decent microphones and record them properly when I do that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to rely on the phones at the moment. Already takes your head off. It's a bit dull compared to what I know this snare drum can do. Definitely needs a head change, top and bottom. So I'm going to get stuck in. This snare is a Tama. I don't even know which model it actually is, but it's a lovely little snare drum. Got a rather nice finish on it. That it's just one of those vinyl wrap things. Like all Tama snare drums, incredible manufacturing process. Sounds really nice, this snare drum does. Got a few problems though, the heads have. I don't know if you can actually see that on there. It's got a hole in the actual bottom of the drum head that could make it pop at some point, so that bottom one needs changing. The top drum head itself is clearly worse the way. It's lost all its coating in the middle, and it's got gaffer tape on it, so clearly it makes some horrible ringing sound that Andy didn't want. So I'm going to strip it down and make it all pretty and sound nice. Right, I'm ready to start stripping this snare drum down, and the way I'm going to do it is the way I normally do. Is I'm going to start in one particular point, take off one full turn, and I'm going opposites as I would. The reason that you do that is because you can actually warp the hoop, and you can warp the shell. It's just better for the drum that you don't put any single part of the drum under any particular extra strain in any one place. So that one's still really low. That one I've just done is undone. I've noticed when I tune other people's drums, is you'll find one half of the shell is really tuned up tight, the other half of the shell is tuned to absolutely nothing. Still got to keep going. And these drum lugs are actually really quite stuck in. They're I don't know whether they're all filthy, but this side of the drum is incredibly tight still, so I'm just going to have to undo these. That's it, perfect. And the obligatory slurp of coffee. This, I've got to be honest, this is probably the most well maintained snare drum that Andy Edwards have got. So let me just show the camera how much dirt has come off those lug nuts. Now you wouldn't think that there's much in there, but they are pretty crabby. So let me take that off so you can see that all the dirt that builds up all the way around your snare. I mean, there is all kinds of wood chippings from the drumsticks and sawdust, as if he's been sawing his sticks on the side of this this snare drum. Let's have a listen to it. Absolutely no life whatsoever left in that snare head. That's for the bin. Just gonna wipe round the edge. I've got much in there, but it always needs to be checked. And thankfully, sometimes what you can find around your snare drums is, well, any drum is, especially if you've bought it second hand, the first time you tune it and there's a dent somewhere, usually indicates the thing's been dropped. And this has been well looked after. I absolutely love Tama snare drums. They look at that. I love all the the actual grain of the wood. Looks fantastic. And now if I show you here the actual, there's the join of the wood. It is really smooth. There are some manufacturers that leave that quite rough and they don't give a flying fart about it, but it's this has been well made. I love Tama snare drums. Fabulous things. Right, now the bottom head. Before I even tackle the head, I'm going to get rid of this snare chain. It's got a couple of things missing actually. Some of the strings, but the wires, but I actually don't have a replacement for that. Now what I'm doing is I am tightening up these small lug nuts here. Not lug nuts, see these small nuts or bolts, whatever you want to call them, each side of the snare mechanism. The reason that is because they're so small they get lost very, very easily. So I'm going to take the snare chain off and I'm going to pop it just over here between the two sets of lug nuts. So I'm going to start my side of the logo again. I'm just going to go half turn because that is really crank tight. The one thing you don't want to do when you're detuning any drum at all is you don't want to take too much off each one. You can normally tell how much it's cranked. That is just really cranked up, really tight. So I'm just going to do half a turn this time rather than the full turn that I did at the top. That's really cranked up tight. Got all the lug nuts off, and I'll just turn this over quickly. And if I show that camera there, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little hole there that's not a regular size shaped hole. It's actually quite jagged, which means it can split at any time once you start hitting the drum. It could go off in any of those directions that the cut is going in. So that is completely useless unless I use it for, no, it's too thin. I was hoping I could use it for the actual ribbons at the side of a snare drum, but that's not going to be any use either. So let's have a look at this. It is called a, there we go, Mighty Hoop. It's not as heavy as the last snare drum I've done for Andy, but it's still got some weight in it. I forget the cloth just to wipe round. You always find there's quite a lot of debris gathering on the bottom one, rarely on the top one for obvious reasons. And then we check around the rim of the shell. That feels fine. I'm going to give this a complete clean down actually, so I'm going to take the lugs off this one. So back on its head. Yeah, I'm going to tidy this one up completely. So I'll get set up for that. I've found the correct screwdriver, and how I know it's the correct screwdriver, because the last thing you want to do is you don't want to be ripping chunks out of the inside of the screws. If you pop the screwdriver actually in, that it locks really tight. Sometimes you can pop a screwdriver into the hole and it'll move quite a bit inside there, and that's no use. You actually want the one that actually fits perfect, nice and tight for the grip of the actual screw. So I'm going to again start at the label. I'm going to start on this lug. And I'm going to leave it inside the centre of the drum. And make that nice and loose. And for some obscure reason my hammer is gone. It's in my toolbox. Okay, I found the right hammer. Now if I just show, if I get this camera here and show you, that's my selection of hammers with a couple of mallets just there. Now you actually really want this particular hammer, which normally stays in my toolbox. It's called a Warrington hammer, and that there at the end of it, sometimes you can have a ball at the end, it's called a ball peen hammer. Sometimes you can have a claw at the end, it's called a claw hammer. This is called a Warrington hammer, and if you can get one of these for your toolkit for tuning your drums, it's brilliant. They're only a couple of quid. Definitely worthwhile investment, because what you do is you use very little energy in taking it, but it actually breaks the little seal between that part of the drum, that part of the lug, and usually that rubber surround, without damaging the actual shell. Because if I was to whack the drum with this thing, you can actually see the difference in the size of hammerhead itself. You can do all kinds of damage with these and use very little pressure, so don't ever use I think there we go, 16-ounce hammer. Use much smaller, and also try and get a Warrington hammer. I'm sure at some point I will be able to show you the reason why I use the Warrington hammer rather than a claw hammer or a ball peen hammer. Now, I'm going to take that off there, put that down. That's the one off the top. And that's the one off the bottom. They are going back in the exact same place that they came out of. And that goes down there. Okay, so I've got to the point now that I need to take off the snare chain mechanism. So you got the little bit there and the actual chain mechanism itself just there. So I'm going to take those off. I am going to leave the actual vinyl coating on. It's just a vinyl wrap on this. It does look pretty cool, but it's got to stay on there. I can't be taking that off. My point exactly. That's okay. Thankfully, this chain mechanism came off quite readily, so I'm quite happy about that. Now I'm just going to remind myself that the actual chain mechanism came off right next to the chain, right next to the vinyl join. And I'm glad I've said that on camera so I can look back on it after I've edited today's. So just to make sure I get this the right way up, I'm going to, you see the, let's do it on that one. You see the Tama logo? The actual Tama logo is written the right way up on that. So all I've got to do is make sure that I do that when I take it off. So I'll make sure I have it the right way round when it comes off. Back into the same spot. That is one completely broken down snare. It's amazing how light some of these snare drums are. This is obviously the Tama shell. It's got virtually no weight in it whatsoever. Incredibly strong shell though. Really starting to like Tama snare drums. Love them. Well, you gotta love that wrap. That is how cool is that? That is a cool looking coating. Right. So I'm just going to get a bit of toilet paper and just give it a dust off all the way round. And all the way around on the inside. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to just clean the outside of the vinyl wrap. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on there, but there's bits of gunk all over it, bits of rust and splashings of whatever's been splashed on this drum. I don't know if you can see it on that. You can't really see it on that one, but anyway, we'll see what we can do. I don't know if you can see it on there, but there's loads of little scratches and dents and all kinds of stuff all over there. That looks so cool on there. I'm going to try and clean that up. The only thing I've got really is I've got this pledge that my neighbour was kind enough to give me. I'm going to need to go and get a mask because that's going to rip my lungs to shreds. I'll be back in a second. Now, I've just had a message back from Andy because I sent him a message saying I was filming the recording of this video of servicing this snare drum, and I asked what bands he'd used this snare drum with and what tours he'd done and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was going to be Robert Plant. I thought he'd used this on the Robert Plant tours, but he hadn't. I don't ever remember working with him when he was using this snare drum, and he said it's a one-off birch shell snare. I think it was especially built for me for Drumfest for Tama. Tama, I don't know how you pronounce it. So this is a one-off. How cool is that? That is a cool thing. So this is a one-off snare drum. I thought you guys some of you guys who'd had this snare drum, but it's a one-off. I think that's pretty cool. So there you go. You're not going to see this snare drum again. I hope some of you got maybe that wrap, because that wrap just looks awesome. But yeah, there you go. So it was just built for him, so that's cool. I am going to put on a mask because pledge just wrecks my lungs. Comes to something when you have to wear a mask to tune a drum kit, doesn't it? Anyway, here we go. Good grief. I've covered the shell in furniture polish pledge, and it still smells a bit strong. I'm going to use this gun cloth. Pop it into a hard ball, about the size of the end of your thumb. See, there you go. And I'm going to go back to that. Now, it's kind of textured, this vinyl wrap is, and I was hoping that I'd be able to tidy up some of the marks on the actual shell. Unfortunately, each and every one of these marks is actually a dent, so I'm not going to be able to make any difference, and the rusty marks are actually really quite soaked into the actual vinyl, which is a shame really, because I'm not going to be able to make much difference. So it looks a little bit better. Basically, I'm removing all the ingrained dust that's on it, but there's some serious chunky scratches and deep scratches that are on this vinyl wrap, which is a real shame because it's a beautiful looking snare drum. I'm going to leave it just there for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I'm going to continue with Andy's custom built one-off snare drum on the next video, and I'm going to assemble it and tune it. Thank you so much for watching, and please click like and subscribe, and hopefully I'm going to be seeing you again on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.